Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed Shlita. Here we are midweek as we continue our learning about the 3 weeks. We ask you to please continue davening for Chalei Tzvah Gana Yisrael, for Shalom L'Chol Petzua Yisrael, the safety of our brothers and sisters in Israel, and we learn each day Le'ilei Nishmat Seren Daniel Shimon ben Harav Doron V'Shlosh Shankum Damo. Also wanted to mention that yesterday was our 700th episode. 700 episodes. That's pretty impressive. So I want to thank you for joining us for this journey, and let's continue now. 701. Ketzad Mavdilim b'Motzei Shabbos Shu Tisha B'Av. Kivan sheyatza haShabbos heichel atzom. So as soon as Shabbos ends, as we've been discussing yesterday, then the fast day begins. V'efshar lahavdil al yain. So if it's a fast day, you can't make Havdallah on wine. So what do we do? Lefichach Havdallah ala kos nidchis ad acher tziyum tzom Tisha B'Av. So therefore, making Havdallah on a cup of wine is pushed off until after the fast is completed. But you still have to make the verbal Havdallah, which is reciting Atachon Antanu and Ma'ariv, therefore you'll be able to do Malacha. But practically speaking, as we mentioned yesterday, that before we even daven Ma'ariv, you say Baruch HaMavdil, that will end Shabbos for you, and then you'll be able to switch into your Tisha B'Av appropriate clothing. And then by making that verbal declaration, this is Havdallah in a verbal sense, which allows you to do Malacha. Some say that women should, who may not normally do so, but should daven Ma'ariv so that they could say the nusach of Havdallah of Atachon Antanu, which is in Shemona Esrei, but they said it's not an obligation. But most agree that certainly just reciting Baruch HaMavdil, that phrase is enough, like they would do in any other Motzei Shabbos. So aside from the verbal declaration of Havdallah, we also make a bracha on the candle on Motzei Shabbos on Saturday night, because the bracha on the candle has not dependent on the cup of wine. But this is a Saturday night thing, and it is reminiscent and giving thanks on the creation of fire, which was revealed to mankind on Motzei Shabbos. We have the custom that in shul we make the bracha on the candle after conclusion of Ma'ariv before Eicha is read. And then we light candles. People also will have candles lit perhaps for Eicha. Women should also make the bracha on the candle. If somebody was unable to or was late and didn't make the bracha of Bar Marei Her Eish in the beginning of the night, so then you can make that bracha all night long. Because the entire night of Motzei Shabbos is a time for making the bracha on the candle. We don't make the bracha on the spices. Because the reason why we make the bracha on the besamim is to sort of cheer up our neshama. Our neshamas, our souls, become sad that Shabbos goes out, so the spices gives us a little bit of a lift. But on Tisha B'Av we have no need because there's already enough tsar, so we don't need the besamim in that sense. B'siyam atzom, when the fast concludes on Sunday, before we eat or we drink, you have to make Havdallah on the wine. You make a Baruch Bor Pri Hagafen, and you make the bracha of HaMavdil. But there is no bracha on the spices and no bracha on the candle. It's just Rabbi Melamed decides that let's go over and review some of the principles of Halacha of Havdallah that take place all year round. Every Motzei Shabbos, even though the 3 stars came out, Chazal still instituted that you cannot perform Halacha until you verbally recite Havdallah, and you shouldn't eat anything until you make Havdallah properly on a cup of wine, candle, etc. On a Motzei Shabbos, when one is unable to make Havdallah on a cup of wine, or anything, then it's enough that you make the verbal Havdallah, and then you'll be able to do Malacha. And after Tisha B'Av, before we eat, we make the bracha of Havdallah on a cup of wine. If someone who is ill and is required to eat on Tisha B'Av, and it's Tisha B'Av is on Sunday, so before he breaks his fast or her fast and she has to eat, you have to make Havdallah first on the cup. And you should make Havdallah not on wine. Again, we are still in the 9 days prohibition, so we use something called Chamar Medina, or perhaps use beer or something like that, or coffee. That's going back to the halachas of Havdallah. And if you don't have that, you can make grape juice as your item for Havdallah. And if a case where there's nothing else but wine, there's no grape juice, no Chamar Medina, then you can make Havdallah on wine and you drink a cheekful. And some say that if there's a minor who's not fasting and they understand about brachas and Havdallah, etc., better that the minor should drink from this beverage and not the person who is sick. Then you have a question, should you give wine to a minor? But that's a whole other question. That's your parenting skills. And if a child has to eat on Tisha B'Av, they do not have to recite Havdallah before they eat. So this will conclude our chapter on what happens when Tisha B'Av is observed on Sunday and going from Motzei Shabbos. Next, we'll get into Tisha B'Av proper, and this will take us through the rest of these halachas, Mitzvah Hashem, till our summer break. So, thank you for joining us. Please continue davening for Chayil Tzvah Yisrael, the foolish Lamech Chol Israel. Say to your brothers and sisters in Israel, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, and we'll see you here next time.